For 127 years, family-owned Kraus department store in Erie, Pennsylvania has continued to be a local favorite. They are known for a fantastic selection of hardware products, wide variety of electrical supplies and services, as well as friendly and accessible customer service. Because of this, the Bostwick Braun Company and Pro Hardware have awarded them the 2012 Pro Dealer of the Year. Kraus is located in Erie, a city in northwestern Pennsylvania named for both the lake and the Native American tribe that once resided along its southern shore. It is the fourth largest city in the state of Pennsylvania behind Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Allentown. Because of this, there is a lot of competition present in the hardware and lumber industries. Yet when you enter Kraus's, you see the hustle and bustle of a true local winner beating all the odds. So what makes this business stay alive, fresh, and also award-winning? Let's go inside and find out. The history of Kraus dates back to 1886, when Edward Kraus from Germany built a small frame building on Parade Street in Erie, Pennsylvania. From there, he opened a 5 and 10 cent general store, which eventually expanded to include a 3-story brick building, all of which is still being used today.
When my grandparents came over, they had a tavern, and then they lived upstairs, and then they, for some reason, they didn't want to buy the booze from the mayor or something, and they changed it into 5 and 10. And then they, around 1895 or so, my grandfather built this store here, this brick building. They lived on, I said, on all 3 floors, because there were 10 people.
When Ed Kraus died in 1912, the store was passed on to his children, who spread the various duties around the many different departments. In fact, the store itself had changed considerably at this point in time, providing a wide range of products from hardware to housewares to even novelty items.
In those early years, I imagine they did mostly the dishes and the kettles and the stuff for people, and they probably had farming things because it was, the people grew things. And I'm sure it was any hardware, nails or saws or grass seed and whatever the neighbors needed, because the neighbors were here. They're not walking too far. Or they come on their horses, or they were right out there. At that time, it was that old. Then later on, they would drive. Used to be parking that came in a long time on Parade Street.
As the years went on, Kraus's would continue to change hands throughout the family. Edward Miller, the husband of Ed Kraus's daughter Mary, would manage the store all the way up until his death. His years at the helm were significant because Kraus's would remain successful throughout the Depression and World War II, coming out strong and healthy. Next, Jerry and Betty Miller took over the reins until Dan and Luann Miller-Novoselsky bought out the store in the mid-1970s.
Well, we wanted to buy the business because my husband, we were both in here. We were partners with my brother and his sister-in-law, and there were 4 of us. So we decided he wanted to get out and retire. So we said, well, we'll see if we'll be able to buy him out. So we approached him, and that was, a big decision.
In 1986, under the ownership of Dan and Luann, Kraus marked its 100th anniversary. They received a special certificate from the governor to celebrate this amazing milestone. Unfortunately that year, Dan Novoselsky passed away, leaving his wife Luann as the sole owner. At the time, Luann's sons, Tom and Joe, were in their 20s, but had been working at the store since they were kids.
We were teenagers back in the day in high school, and my parents bought out my uncle and my aunt, and they needed us to actually help them run the store. So Joe came in.
And they told us, in or out. Either you're in, we're keeping it. If you're out, we're selling.
It was tough in the beginning, we were already vested here for a few years, my brother and I, and my father passed away. Still owed the mortgage on the store. And at the time, we owed the bank so much money that my mom said, well, let's just try it and see what happens, And, it took us years to get on our feet, but we actually got on our feet, and things have been rolling smooth ever since.
At the time, Kraus was a Century hardware store, purchasing primarily from the long-standing Cleveland wholesaler and distributor George Worthington Company. They also had a close working relationship with Bostwick Braun, who helped keep inventory stocked and offered reasonable terms while the family dealt with Dan Novoselsky's passing.
when my brother and I got involved, we were buying a little bit from Bostwick Braun, more from George Worthington because we were a Century store, but they kind of went belly up in the mid 80s. And it just so happened that Bostwick happened to be there to fill their shoes.
A suggestion was made that Kraus Department Store consider becoming a pro hardware retailer. This would allow for better pricing, along with name recognition when utilizing the Pro brand. This partnership became extremely beneficial as it paved the way for a huge increase in productivity and kept the business striving forward.
We looked at it and the pricing was great, and once we got on board, there was no huge commitment from ourselves, which was nice at the time because we were kind of strapped for money. But it just gave us a better advantage in making better margins on a bunch of products. We look forward to going to the Bostwick Braun shows every year. For one thing, they give us good deals, good dating, tons of product, and we learn a lot of new stuff there every year. And we get to network with other stores.
In the mid-90s, Kraus was becoming a huge force in Erie's competitive hardware market. Then in 2001, Tom and Joe officially became co-owners of Kraus Department Store, the family's fourth generation to carry on this prestigious tradition.
The family business, my mom's still working here. We got her down to part-time, 40 hours, which is kind of cool.
That's when she became 80.
Yeah, when she turned 80.
Before that.
Where do I work now? Here in the office now, more or less. Although I help Louie in the electric, I do help with the lamp. Easy, simple lamps, I can do them.
My brother, Joe, my little brother Louie, myself, Tom, our boys, Rory, Adam, Ian,
Louie's daughter,
Kelsey.
My wife works here.
So it's fun most of the time, but yeah, everybody has their moments.
It's a family reunion every day, even though we don't see each other.
Much of the company's success is attributed to their alignment with the Pro Group, allowing them to increase purchasing power, but also remain independent. But if you ask the residents of Erie, most will say that it's due to many more personal factors. Their immense knowledge of the product and ability to market for specific areas is impressive. Erie has a population of over 100,000 people, and different items sell better in different neighborhoods. Being aware of these variables helps to increase sales and overall product awareness.
Probably 80% of our business is local, and kind of what we do is look for a good quality line that we can sell at an affordable price, pretty much for everything across the board.
The Novoshelskis are big believers in keeping the store fresh. They pay close attention to changes in price and cost and remain extremely competitive in the pricing arena. They change end caps on a constant rotation cycle. In fact, they pride themselves on their historic store never becoming stale.
There's 4 main end caps I have. 2 are at the front and 2 are at the back of the store. Every month I change them because there's a sale every month, so I change them every month going along with the sale. It's just an overload of items that we have to take care of.
The Novoshelskis also place a high value on personal service. They truly listen to their customer base and adjust stock and services accordingly. The store carries over 100,000 items spread across 11,000 square feet of space. Kraus has the reputation as the place to go when you're looking for those hard-to-find items. In fact, their motto is, if we don't have it, you don't need it.
The reason that people come in here is because we wait on every person that walks through the door. Customer service, customer service, customer service.
Somebody comes into the store, you treat them like a guest in your house. And that's kind of what keeps us going here. As soon as somebody comes in the door, there's already somebody asking them, what do they need today? Can we help you?
Kraus Department Store retains the old-time feel of a family-owned business, personal service, and great advice. It remains the place to shop for hard-to-find items and always considers the customer as king. And that is why they are Bostwick Braun's 2012 Pro Hardware Retailer of the Year and this year's recipient of the Pro Hardware's Paul L. Cosgrave Memorial Award.
Welcome to Kraus Department Store!
Years ago, all my relatives were pack rats, or I think today's phrase is use hoarders. So it took me a lot of years to clean out. You could barely walk through these rooms up here. But if you look at all the antiques, I collected what I thought was of value. Well, a lot of the stuff on the particular floor has been left from our ancestors from years ago. This happened to be my great-grandparents that did start Kraus's. These pictures were drawn by their son George at the age of 12, which is printed in the corner. So our original ledgers from 1886 are still intact here on the paperwork. It's all hand done with quill pens. Interesting artifacts like I had a question today. Somebody called me for an indoor marshmallow cooker. Rope and cable counter, some of the old Griswold artifacts that were from Erie. We have a few hat stretcher, which I have used. Basically, it's a ribbon of steel, and it cuts its own staples every time you staple through this particular part. This particular one, being a 5-drawer, was a rarity at the time. Many hours in repair in it. That's when we decided to upgrade and go with the Society's request for new product.
So what year would this be from?
1919. One of our original signs. If you look at some of the old drills and the old phones, things that we just kept around in history. This particular flag, I've opened it once. I dare open it again. It has original 18 stars on it. Been here since the beginning. I have an old desk and some of the old stuff set on the desk. A bunch of old pipe cutting and some gauges, some materials. I just felt we're hanging on some old soldering irons, which you don't see much anymore today. Some clippings from over the years. It's got some articles and reasons we have them because they had a lot of the store ads into them, but you start looking at the dates of some of this stuff, it does get pretty old. I mean, you can tell by just looking at the Glenn story up in space. I have a Kennedy book too here from when Kennedy was president. Pull in the old sewing machines. All these sewing machines that you see here were used at one time in the store for millinery. The old televisions that we have, old heaters, orange or toasters, just a few odd things we kept. An old tabletop washing machine that sat on 2 burners that you would twist. Even comes with the old roll-out ironing board. So even though it looks a little cluttered up here, it works well for us.